Hello everyone, and welcome back. As you can see, or if you watch both channels, you already know that I'm back up in Minnesota right now for a short time. I'm going to actually run back down to Louisiana later this week. But when I was down there, one of the subscribers from the channel, his name is Brian West, stopped by the house down there, and he had some really good tips for crawfishing, or crayfishing if you're up here. And I just wanted to share them with you because it's like you do this for a long enough time and all of a sudden things start to click in your head, and all of this made great sense. Okay, so one of the things that Brian brought up was the bait. We all know, I have been doing this for a long time. If you guys have been following along, you basically went from somebody that knew nothing about catching crayfish in Minnesota or crawfish down south to somebody that's really learned, and you guys have learned along with me. And if you watch the traps, we've done bread, we've done cat food, we've done all kinds of stuff, and it all works. But if you can get a fresh fish in that trap, you're golden. It's really good. So, with the exception of using catfish, and that one we kind of talked about this year because I had some catfish in a trap and I don't get the best results with catfish. And I got it in comments that catfish, they don't catch that many, and Brian said the same thing. Catfish, for some reason, don't really attract him as much. What they do use down there is shad, and I'm not sure that we can get shad up here in Minnesota, but down there, and he's trapped for many years, a piece of shad in the trap, and then some of the crayfish or crawfish pellets. I imagine they're called crawfish pellets because it's not something you can buy up here, but you can get it online, but down there you can actually buy it in the stores. And this is just a picture, this is just a random picture off the internet of what those pellets look like. So another thing that we've talked about before is I used to get comments that said you got to have stinky bait. I have used the leftovers from a crawfish or crayfish boil, and they say put it in the sun, let it stink and stuff like that. I have the best luck with fresh bait every time. And now as I've done this longer, I get a lot more comments saying yes, fresh bait. And if you read online, because I'm always reading, trying to learn more stuff, using fresh bait will always do better, for me anyway, and for a lot of other people, than using a stinky, rotten type bait. One of the main things that Brian had said to me, and it was interesting because it was actually kind of funny, because Brian is the nicest guy in the world, very easy to talk to. I really enjoyed our conversation, but you could tell that basically said that when he watched the video, sometimes he would cringe, and more like, Joe, what are you? Are you a dumbass or what? Sorry, but that's kind of the feeling that I got. When I use my Minnesota traps, I always catch more. And I love these traps, but this half-inch square is not legal in Louisiana. So, and to buy the right type of netting that I would need to make this trap, you had to buy it in such bulk, I didn't bother. I went and bought pillow traps. But I will explain to you in a minute why, or what I'm doing wrong with the pillow traps. But the reason I catch so many in here, and I thought it was because, well, the little ones can't get out. But what more the big deal is, you put your bait in here, and those crawfish, crayfish, they walk around. Where here they can just walk right up, they go in the hole, and it's done, and you've caught them in the trap. So down in Louisiana, like I said, that size doesn't work, so I didn't bring them down. I actually did bring them down and then found out that they wouldn't work. This is the exact right legal size mesh hole that you have to catch them there. And for me, you guys have watched it for how many years down there. I take the trap, I put the bait in here, I grab it, and I throw it in the water. Now I do that, and I do catch crawfish in this trap, but that's the part that really made Brian cringe. The problem is, okay, here I am, I'm a crawfish or crayfish, I'm walking down on the ground, and the bait is inside there. If you hang it, no matter what you do. So here they are, boom, boom. They cannot get in the holes. They would have to crawl up or swim up and go in here. The correct way to do a trap, and now if you remember watching other videos, and even if you watch, when you see the traps, and I didn't want to buy these because I didn't know exactly how they worked or people would be able to see them, but you remember seeing the upright traps? Those traps would be a super smart deal, because Brian said what I should be doing is tilting this trap up like this. If you lean it up, he said they'll take a piece of bamboo, which I suppose is like a stick or whatever, and you put it on edge, your bait is right down here. Now they're crawling around, they go right up inside the hole and they're in here, and then they just fill up. So for me doing this, I've really been, I don't know what the word is, but I've really been slowing down with my catches because they just can't get inside. So for me, that was the biggest deal. It's like I completely understood that. Tip up the trap so it's out of the water. You're going to have to be a little more careful because people are going to see them. You want your trap to be concealed. So therefore the rounder ones that I use in Minnesota would be nice because you could throw them in there. It's doing the same thing, but they're under the water and nobody can see them. Another thing that he told me on this is that, like with the hole size right here, well, he said he knows that I drink beer because he watches the videos, but I usually drink it out of a can. But if you have a bottle of beer or a bottle of soda if you're down south, a pop if you're up here, shoving that bottle in here and running it up till it's right up to the fat part of the neck would open this up to be the perfect size. One more tip that he gave me is, I'll throw the trap in, we'll go out the next day, I'll pull that trap out, pull out whatever I have in it, rebait it, whatever, and I throw it back in. If it's possible, I should take and move that trap down, maybe 50 feet down the swamp area or the bayou, whatever you're in, because, well, then you're getting new crawfish, new crayfish. So that made sense to me too. Sometimes you're tight, you can't do it, and you do still catch them, but maybe if I had the trap up like this, I would catch almost everything in that area, and then I could just move it down a ways and then catch the ones that are in that area. So another thing that he had said is, I don't know if you guys watched, I can't remember if it was the first or I think it was the second video that I posted down this year from Mudbuggin in Louisiana. And I talked about those guys that went out and were putting their traps right in the cypress trees. And they said they would kick a hole and then put their trap in there. And he said that you don't really have to kick a hole. If they're there, they're going to get into your trap. But of course they wouldn't if it was sitting like this. So by putting it up like this, he said he'll rest it right against a cypress knee or, a stick, whatever, and then you'll get them. But they do like to hang around that rotted wood that's in those swamps. So for me, that was interesting because that's a whole area that I never trap because I don't catch anything there. I guess I didn't know how to do it. And if you guys have been watching this for all these years, it ends up being, at the end, and most everything in life ends up being common sense. Once it clicks in your head and you know what you're doing and enough people tell you what you should be doing, it's like, oh, why didn't I ever think of that? So one more thing that he said is that they have raccoons down there. We have tons of raccoons up here too. I've never had a problem with the raccoon with the traps. I'll see the tracks all around the river and stuff, but they've never pulled them. But these traps that I put in from Minnesota are farther out in the water, in deeper water I should say. And he said that the problem with when you go into the cypress swamp area is if you don't put these in like a foot of water, the raccoons will come up and they'll yank these traps out. If it's like 6 inches, they don't really want to swim, but they'll grab them and pull them out. So he said you'll go and check your traps, and all of a sudden your trap is on shore, and it's pushed down, and you'll swear that somebody tampered with your trap. And in reality, what happened was the raccoon pulled it out, can't get at the bait, this is all puffed up, can't get underneath it, so they'll stand on it and push it down until they can eat that bait out the top. Okay everyone, well I wanted to get this video posted because the crayfishing, crawfishing, mudbugging, crawdadding, whatever season is here for this year. I mean, it's starting in Minnesota here. We still have ice on the lakes. But it'll be, usually it's about in the middle of June, beginning of June when I finally get to get the traps out. I am going to be heading back down to Louisiana this coming week. And if I have time, I'm going to run the traps out again and do some of this stuff, like put the trap up and stuff like that. Brian also gave me some tips, like, when I put the catfish lines off the bridge, the way I'm doing that, he likes to do it off of like a branch and stuff like that. I got some tips. And there's another guy down there, we talked on the phone, we texted, we emailed, and his name is Josh. I did not get permission to use his last name, but he puts out noodles, or jugging for catfish, and he's got a spot to go to and everything. And I was down there and I wanted to do it, but then the big boat did not work. If you guys watch the Northern Seclusion channel, you've been following the Louisiana boat. And I haven't even done a video on that because it's so bummed out. So I am. But I took the little boat out and then I spun the prop. But this time, Melissa's going to take a whole week off work but I'm going to be there a couple days when she isn't working. So I think, Josh, if you want to get together, and he's going to show me how he does basically the jugging rig, or the noodle rig or whatever for catfish, and I'd like to get out there and set those and then go back out and check them the next day. So I'll have a video on that, and that would be here on the Joe and Zach Survival channel. So anyway, I just wanted to get these tips to you guys. I'll be doing more videos. We'll see how all this works, but it makes perfect sense to me. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys on the next video.